Welcome to NOLA.com. Larry Holder, Jeff Duncan here with you at Bank of America Stadium, where the Saints fall to 0-3 on the season as they lose 27-22 to the Carolina Panthers. And Jeff, look, we knew Luke McCown and the Saints were going to have a tough time out here anyway. Look, I think Luke did enough for the Saints to give them an opportunity to win. They just didn't do it. Defense didn't play well enough at times.
Right.
Offensively, look, you had a turnover by Ben Watson and just couldn't get on the field as consistently as they were maybe in the first half. And so but look, they're 0-3, and they're in a big hole right now.
Yeah, 0-3. Carolina and Atlanta are 3-0, so that makes it doubly tough right now. Grand Canyon-like hole early on. Here we are, not even a month into the season. It already starts to feel like it's slipping away on this team. And, you know, I sensed a little bit of resignation in the locker room afterward. Players and coaches seem to know that they're not good enough to win these games unless they play almost perfectly. And if they make a couple of turnovers or some bad ill-timed penalties, this team just isn't talented enough. So this 0-3 to me feels worse than 2012 and 2007 when they started 0-3, because it just seems like this team maybe isn't good enough to right the ship.
Yeah, and what you see is, look, it's a rebuilding year for sure, because you've got a lot of young players, and then you're having guys banged up. Look, Jari Evans missed the game. We still haven't seen Jairus Byrd. Keenan Lewis was out. Donnell Ellerbe, maybe he would have been back. He did not play either. And, of course, Drew's hurt.
Right.
And so you get to this point, and you're 0-3, 0-2 in the division, 0-3 in the NFC already. And so the narrative is going to start changing to where you're talking more about, can they even win games, much less go anywhere. I think any talk of any kind of postseason or anything like that, they got to win a game first, and I don't know if that's even necessarily true. Look, Brandon Whedon might come in the Superdome and play well next week with the Dallas Cowboys. So they're definitely in a big hole right now.
I think the reality is this team is much closer to being maybe the worst team in the league than they are anywhere near being the best team in the league. I mean, think about it. This is a team in the Breeze-Payton era that would lose 3 games in an entire season. Right. They've already lost 3 games. So, you know, there's only a couple other teams right now that are winless in the entire NFL. They've got so many injuries, and but I do agree with you. I mean, Luke McCown played as well as you could expect a guy to play in that situation against a very good defense, and really kept them in the game and gave them a chance to potentially pull this thing out. But they're just not good enough, and they're always seemingly fighting uphill. I mean, they're behind in all 3 of these games the whole game.
Right. Well, they actually even took an early lead today, but still they were not able to get a lot of pressure on Cam Newton.
Right.
Greg Olsen crushed them. I mean, it's funny. Every week we see tight ends beat them, and it all goes back to training camp. Well, wow, look, Ben Watson's having this great training camp, and no, it's just because the Saints can't cover a tight end.
Yeah, their young linebackers really struggling in coverage. And talking to some of the Saints defensive players today, I mean, they were talking about how much they need to tighten it up, but I just don't see it. I mean, there's a lack of playmakers on defense right now. It's glaring. I mean, they had 1 sack for a meager 3-yard loss. They, again, didn't get an interception. They haven't intercepted a pass all year. And they're not really coming close to picking any of these balls off.
They're actually getting closer to giving up big plays like Brandon Brown. I mean, all you do is throw deep on him, and you're going to either get a pass interference or you're going to beat him deep. And Carolina did it. Look, last week Jameis Winston did the same thing. Just throw it deep, and he just had to dive and hope and a prayer for pass interference. So he is becoming a liability on that second cornerback spot.
Wouldn't surprise me when Keenan Lewis comes back if Bro and Lewis are the starters.
Right.
You know, and I know they brought in Browner to start, but he looks to me like, you know, Sean Payton said he was healthy, but he's also, you know, you have to remember he had that injury in preseason, and, you know, it looks to me like he's just still trying to recover from that a little bit. But there's not a lot of positives from this game other than the play of Luke McCown. And, you know, they do fight. I mean, you have to give them credit. They're not laying down. They're fighting back, and they did show a little spark there in the 4th quarter.
And Marcus Murphy had the big punt return for a touchdown. That's a good one. But I think you're right. I don't think it's a point where they're laying down. They just might not be good enough.
Right. That's the sense I got, and that's kind of what I'm writing tonight is that's the bad thing if you're a Saints fan is this team. It's not the intangibles, or it's not the chemistry issues. They've got all that right. They're just simply not as talented as the teams are playing right now.
Well, We'll cover it all week and throughout the rest of the season. Even though it's 0-3, it might seem over. Well, guess what? We still got 13 games, and so we'll be all over it at NOLA.com. And don't forget to check out our Dat Chat podcast live with Jeff and myself every Tuesday at 3 o'clock at NOLA.com. So for Larry Holder, Jeff Duncan, signing off at Bank of America Stadium. Again, Saints fall 27-22, fall to 0-3 after losing to the Carolina Panthers. Thanks for joining us.